into your house and reclaim some of your memories, or when you're going back into your house and trying to get it ready to rebuild. We're with Noreen Mayberry, who is a toxicologist, Darren Finn, who's a construction expert. And Noreen, give people a sense of what your background is.
Yeah, so I'm a doctor of toxicology, so I have 4 specialties: environmental, space, food, nutritional toxicology. In terms of environmental toxicology, actually I'm highly specialized in mold and mycotoxins. So I want people to understand that when I give them an opinion about mold removal, it's a very qualified opinion because I've written several hundreds of remediation protocols over the years.
And what's the danger? What happens inside our bodies?
So there's various types of dangers because there's so many different species of molds. Some of them are very, very highly toxic, very pathogenic, and they're slower growing molds. So now that you have, you've got soil that's been turned over, some of the mold spores that you wouldn't normally see in your house, they're in there now. So the black mold, the Stachybotrys that people are worrying about, that's going to start showing up.
People have memory loss, nosebleeds, all kinds of respiratory issues.
Respiratory issues, central nervous system issues, you name it, they can have those kind of issues depending upon the type of molds that they are being exposed to and the concentration. So it's the concentration that's in the air, the duration, the amount of time they're being dosed, and the types of mold spores. So I want people to take it seriously because I've seen so many cases where people don't take it seriously up front.
Well, the problem is we walk in and we have a goal in mind, right?
Right.
When we walk in, we think we're not damaged right at that moment, so we don't necessarily put the importance there. And Darren, you've seen too many times where things were done incorrectly, which ends up costing people more on the back end.
Right. So a lot of times people think, okay, I'll spray it with a little bleach and I killed it and that's it. Well, the spores are still there, whether it's dead or not. And then that hidden moisture, that you don't know about. And the last thing you want to do is start to the rebuilding process only to have, mold issue later on.
Yeah, because they have to
and
tear it all
compound
back
the
down,
problem.
right?
Right, yeah.
All right, let's go back to our questions. We have a Facebook question here from Susan Murray, and she says, the downstairs is flooded. How far do mold spores travel? Is upstairs ruined as well? Now, I have a number of friends who walked in their house. They're in 3 feet of water on that bottom floor, but they think, oh, upstairs is okay. But when they got upstairs, especially soft things like clothing, well, you can smell it.
Exactly, because these porous fibers in our clothing, they're also a good home or substrate for the mold to grow. And the moisture, rises rapidly, the heat rises, and all of those mold spores, like I said, they're in the air already. And so what's emanating or vaporizing or coming off of the water is going upstairs. It's going throughout the home. So I always say that if you have clothing that is in floodwaters, that you definitely don't want to try to wash that, because not only are you not actually going to help yourself later on down the line, you're cross-contaminating wherever you're going to wash that
And with that said, if you have carpet that got flood water, get rid of it. Don't try to clean it. Yeah.
Carpet, the padding, I say even the little, the carpet strips, the wood carpet strips, because they're so thin as well. I tear all of that out because I've seen people try to save carpet strips and then later on they're, contaminated with mold as well.
Yeah.
Wood is porous.
All right, let's go to Frances Carter, who is part of our live studio audience this morning. Good morning, Frances.
Good morning.
And what was your question?
What should homeowners be concerned about if they have siding because they can't see the mold mildew development or as well as the debris accumulation?
Yeah, all right. So Darren, you have siding. Do you mind if I ask you what kind? Is it vinyl? Is it like a hardy plank?
I think the person has vinyl, and then I have a neighbor that has hardy plank.
Okay. Darren?
So it's mostly about exposing it, and most of that's done from the inside. So when we take out the baseboards, we take out all the flooring that you talked about, those tack strips, the drywall, the insulation. We'll have the exposure to the back side of that insulation or the vapor barrier that's there. So we'll be able to see what all that is. And that's the most important thing, is to be able to see that. Some homes are built in a way that might have some substrate behind it, like an older home might have some shiplap behind that. A layer of that's going to need to come out so you can see into that wall, and so that it has a chance to dry out.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, is to get it exposed, to get it dry out. All those porous surfaces that we talked about, the gypsum board, the carpeting, and all those things need to go. There's a lot of cabinetry that's made out of particle board. It may look fine, but once it's exposed to it, it's very susceptible to that mold growth.
Yeah,
and
And again, if your bottom floor is still swimming in water, those spores are, everything's soaking it up.
They're everywhere, yeah.
All right, we have Kathleen. Good morning.
Good morning.
And what's your question?
My question is, it's several people in this area that still use well water. And how would they determine if their well water is contaminated, or where would they go to get help with their water because they're not connected up to the city?
That's a good point. When
So,
you have that
yeah.
amount of water that's
Right.
dropped.
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. So there are multiple ways you can address that. So number one, you can call the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, TCEQ. They have a local office. They can direct you properly. Also, there are kits as well where, that they sell in hardware stores where you can test various types of contamination in your water. But I would also call the city of Houston or whatever the closest municipality of water is. Tell them, hey, I'm on private well water. Can someone help me? Can someone help me test?
Right.
I would do that before I would try. I would never just rely on a home testing kit, but definitely call TCEQ and call the local water company.
Yeah, and the thing in the meantime, just if you
Right.
if you have any
Don't
questions,
drink
just
it.
use bottled water, right?
Bottled water, and then boiling water may not even get everything, so that's why I wouldn't rely on boiling water either.
All right. Kathy, good morning, Kathy.
Good
Can you
morning.
hold that microphone up and tell us what your question
Good
is?
morning. My question is, once I've taken out everything out of the refrigerator and I'm getting ready to clean, is there a chemical that will get rid of the odor and also all of the germs in there without being toxic to me or the food?
Okay.
Actually, there is not. You're going to have to use bleach at this point. Bleach is is the only chemical that kills all types of mold. All types of mold spores. But you have to ventilate the area. So don't do this in an enclosed environment. Make sure you get that respirator protection. I see a lot of people, they clean on a regular basis with bleach around their homes. They don't protect their respiratory system, and then they have that mild central nervous system toxicity. So you might start to feel dizzy. So definitely protect your respiratory system, clean, wear the gloves, but clean it thoroughly and allow it to dry completely before you put any food in there. Any food that's in the refrigerator should be tossed. So let the refrigerator dry out completely and then allow it to come to temperature, and then you would put food in there.
Yeah, there's so many things that the floodwaters touch. I mean, obviously you
Yes.
tear out the soft stuff that we talked about
Exactly.
and the sheetrock and all,
Right.
but those hard, non-porous objects,
Right.
got to wipe all of those down. Every single thing, wipe
and
it down.
the thing is about refrigerators, there are some that have, porous material on the backside. And so you have to make sure that you're not putting a refrigerator back in service that is also going to continue to contaminate your air, because if there is some type of insulation that has gotten water in it, you may have to replace the refrigerator as well. Some people don't think about that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
If
All
it
right.
got wet, it's probably best to
you.
just,
Yeah, 'cause
just
then
for
you have
safety,
electrical
safety
issues
reasons
also,
and everything.
right? Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back with more things that you need to know.